Hi, we're in our studios here today, and we're excited that we have a guest with us to talk about his part of the building of the high-performance home at 8729 Lower Marine Road here in the greater St. Louis area, located in a small community on the Illinois side. And I want to welcome to our studio Kerry Fehrmann. Kerry, you're General Manager of Champion Waterproofing, and that's a St. Louis-based company with offices in Belleville, Illinois. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we're going to be talking about something that's very, very important to me, and that's keeping the lower level of the home dry from the forces of outside water that could come in and make it damp and make it not an enjoyable place. And in a high-performance home, that's something that we're going to be taking care of. And so, Kerry, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what your company does to make that happen?
Okay. Well, what we do is we spray apply a waterproofing product as opposed to a damp proofing product. It's a polymer enhanced liquid applied asphalt membrane.
Okay. And when you say the term, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm in a situation where I want to learn too. The difference in the term damp proofing and waterproofing. Is damp proofing something that used to be done? Is that?
That's correct.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Years ago, the foundations would be coated with basically a road grade tar. They would go down in the basement and roll road grade unmodified tar on the foundation and provide protection against basement leaks.
Okay.
And that's the way it was done years ago.
What happened to that application over the years?
It has a tendency to break down. It doesn't have any resistance to hydrostatic head and head pressure against the foundation, against protecting against leaks, especially in the event of concrete cracking.
Okay. When you say hydrostatic pressure, I've talked to our viewers about the fact that there's a hydrostatic pressure of water coming up under the basement slab, and we talk about that with the concept of a rock base and it seeking the least resistance and going over and getting into a drain system. In the case of the Oasis, we use the Fehrmann drain system, and going to a sump pit and then being pumped out by a sump pump. And so that's hydrostatic pressure that comes up under the floor. But you're more talking about hydrostatic pressure coming from the exterior, is that
That's
right?
correct. Both
Okay.
groundwater and water pressure that might be coming, horizontally up against the foundation wall as opposed to just coming vertically from up underneath.
What would cause the two differences of the, I really don't know a whole lot about that. That's, why we want to talk about it. But I think of some of the water pressure being based on the water table.
Absolutely.
And some of it could be just the rain.
Just the rain and landscaping and things of that nature, create a natural, ideally in a perfect world, you'll have ground sloped away from the structure. You'll have, proper grading will involve water sloping away from the house. Mm-hmm. As landscaping occurs, sometimes you create a berm or a moat around that foundation wall and it doesn't allow that drain water access to just dissipate quickly, so you need some water control at that point.
Okay. In that case, the water's going down alongside the foundation. Absolutely. Is what you're saying. And I didn't want to get you off. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. But your solution for that and protection for that is to apply, again, what you said.
It's Watchdog waterproofing, manufactured by Trimco Barrier Solutions.
Hold that up.
Got a little sample of it here.
Okay.
This is a cured product. It stays flexible. It provides protection even when the concrete does crack, which is one of several things that concrete will do. Just typical shrinkage cracks.
We were laughing about that off camera. A lot of builders have said that concrete has a 3-part guarantee. It's going to get hard, it's going to crack, and nobody will steal it. But we're not sure about the nobody stealing it thing. But at any rate, it's going to crack.
Sure.
Concrete cracks. And so when concrete cracks, if that coating on the outside of the foundation is, like you said in the old days, just road tar, it goes with the crack, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has no bridging capability whatsoever, where the Watchdog waterproofing membrane actually will bridge those cracks and remain leak-free.
Okay. So are you kind of like encasing that wall with that product?
Yep.
And the wall could move a bit, but it'll just stretch rather than
Right.
open up.
And concrete, that it has moisture in it, and you know, some of the notable areas to look for is step downs, changes of wall heights, window areas. Inevitably, you'll find little shrinkage cracks that are going to occur in those locations. And you know, the idea behind having, you know, the protection going, you know, up onto that surface will, you know, prevent water leaks from occurring.
I've seen like where they would put maybe an egress window in a foundation. It's poured in place. That at the corners of those you'll get some cracking.
Very typical.
Because again, what you're saying, the concrete is curing out and,
Yep.
and causing that. So I think, you know, what may be interesting for our viewers, because your company is, you know, Champion Waterproofing has been on the Oasis site, and your workers have applied this. Is that polymer coating?
It's a polymer enhanced asphalt membrane.
Okay. Polymer enhanced asphalt membrane. They've applied that to the foundation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to roll some of that footage and let Kerry just kind of explain what your workers are doing.
Sure.
Okay?
What we do is when we arrive on the job site is go around and look for any kind of imperfections or cave-ins or collapses on the foundation with the overdig, and make sure that the footing area is kept clean for us to be able to spray apply the waterproofing membrane. The application process involves spray applying through an airless sprayer and applying the product. In the winter months, we actually run it through a heat exchanger and get the temperature up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and spray apply it in temperatures as cold as 30 degrees. What you'll see here with the application process is them spraying it horizontally at a certain mil thickness, which when we're completed with the spray, it gets 60 mils wet. As far as the cured product, it's 40 mils cured. So in order to get that product on the wall and hang without it sagging and running and ending up down on the footing, is we cross grain. We spray in two different directions. We'll spray horizontally, and then they'll spray it vertically to where we get all the little imperfections in the concrete with waterproofing membrane in those imperfections, and make sure that the entire wall is coated.
Well, that was interesting to see that, Kerry, and see how it's applied, and I was fascinated with the two ways of applying it there. Now that is the waterproofing material. And all of us have seen houses where they painted the foundation black, and maybe they got it up high and then they landscaped. And it's not very attractive, you know, at that top part. I think you were talking to me earlier. One of the problems is when they painted it too low. Talk about that a little bit, you know. In other words, they didn't get the waterproofing up high enough.
Sure. The waterproofing product will protect against foundation leaks where it's applied. And when we started doing this years ago, you know, the common goal for my builders when I talked to them about us spraying was they didn't want to see the product when we were finished applying the product, and they backfilled. So a lot of times it's difficult to determine exactly what level the backfill is going to be, and to try to get the builder to, you know, snap a line or paint a line on the foundation, say spray here, do not spray here. It left a lot of a gray area, so to speak, for us with the protection. And if
they didn't get it up high enough, I mean, if you didn't get the waterproofing up high enough, and then the backfill went on up on there, then you got water potentially getting into the foundation because it's unprotected, right?
Right.
And when foundations crack, they can crack all the way to the top, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's generally where they originate. The cracks you'll see coming from the corner of a window or from the top of the wall, beam pocket, wherever, you'll generally see them start and originate up at the highest point and then work their way down. And ultimately, it can come all the way down to the floor, which is pretty typical. But the protection where we spray the product starts at the footing and comes up to a certain point. So it leaves a kind of an area to where there's a potential of water leaking above where we stop spraying the basement leaking and giving the illusion that the product failed, when in essence it was more of an application grading error as opposed to the product not doing its job.
But you guys have come up with a solution for that, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that. And I think we got some video. You can just talk about it, and
sure.
maybe we can show that too.
Sure. What we ended up doing was we kind of called it a gray area of not knowing how high to spray. In essence, the concrete is a gray color by nature, so we got with the manufacturer and wanted to try to find a product that would allow us some UV protection so the sun wouldn't just deteriorate the product over time.
That's interesting. Now, let me just stop you for a minute.
Sure.
The UV rays are something that could damage the waterproofing material, right? Just by
Absolutely.
constantly. I mean, it's not going to affect it if it's under the ground,
Low
but if
grade.
it's above there, the UV rays. What would it do? Does it make it separate or over time?
Yeah, the product would deteriorate. It would crack. It's not designed for the UV. The harmful rays of the UV will end up cracking the product and preventing the waterproofing characteristics that it typically provides.
So you've got your solution to that. Go ahead.
Sure.
I just was curious about UV.
Yep.
You know.
The product that we spray up on the top again provides waterproofing protection. It goes from the top of the wall down, and where the overlap, where the black and the gray product, we call it gray. It's a tannish gray product, and it'll overlap and provides when the backfill is completed aesthetically, it looks a little bit more pleasing than what the bare concrete does. But more importantly, it allows us to provide footing to sill plate protection against basement leaks through the foundation.
I like that, the term footing, all the way down. We've talked to our viewers about the footing. And Kerry, there's another aspect of your services that I wanted to talk about, because we've talked about the waterproofing on the outside. And then you've got another thing that you do to help augment the control of water on the inside. Talk about that a little bit.
Okay. What we do on the interior of the foundation is, before the basement floor is poured, we will install a product called Hydro Channel. Here's a sample of the channeling system. It's a clear plastic track that gets nailed down onto the footing with mechanical fasteners. It gets fastened up against the foundation wall and in essence creates a cove that allows any water that might try to seep in where the footing and the foundation wall meet at what they call a cold joint. It gives it a pathway to travel, get underneath the basement floor, and in essence to a sump basin, our collection basin, that will allow that relief for the water.
Okay. You've talked about, the waterproofing on the outside, and if, say, a home had as long as everything's working fine, that's probably going to be taken care of. If, like in the Oasis that we're building and talking about, it has Fehrmann on both the outside and the inside of the foundation. After that Fehrmann is put in and before the area is backfilled up by the house, there will be a rock put in and a filter fabric put in. And as long as all that's working fine, that's going to take care of the water thing, because in that particular situation, the drain is going to what we call daylight out, but sometimes either varmints or animals or something get up in that and create problems that you don't know about. There are some things that we'll talk about that you can do with that, like special caps that go on the end that allow the water out, but not the kind of like a backflow preventer, but that allow animals not to come back in. But things could happen. If that happens and that pressure builds up, the potential problem is, like you said, where the foundation is poured onto the footing that's already been in place. So they aren't poured simultaneously, and it creates a cold joint there.
Right.
And that's where you're talking about.
Sure. And the concept is it's more of a safety net, I guess, if you will. And the idea behind some of these repair companies that do this on older houses, if you have this product in place to begin with and it's underneath your concrete floor, it'll always be there for the protection that if in the event that the exterior drain system would malfunction or fail, that it's got the opportunity to get to the inside and to that sump basin, through that cold joint.
So that's something before the basement floor is poured. After you've done your work on the outside, you can go inside and you can place this around the footing against the foundation wall.
Right.
And then that's when the concrete's poured, it goes away. You don't see it, but it's there.
Right. It's never to be seen again. And structurally, it's able to withstand the weight of the concrete over the top of these precast bubbles. Once the plastic makes the concrete form to this, 20, 30, 40 years from now, if something would ever happen to this plastic and deteriorate, the concrete has already taken shape and form, so there's
It's
really
already got
doesn't
those
serve
little legs to stand on.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Your company, you stand behind what you're doing, right? Talk about how that works. How you got to make people feel like their investment in keeping this lower level dry is secured by some protection too.
Sure.
Right?
The warranty really is it's as good as the paper it's wrote on. But the company that backs it, we've been in business for 15 years and we've done over 20,000 basements.
Wow.
So it's something to where our reputation precedes us. We've been doing work on the St. Louis Metro East side, as far out towards Wentzville, Missouri, and all the way up to Springfield, Illinois, down to the lower portion of Illinois as well. So we canvass about a 100-mile radius of Belleville, and the customer satisfaction is our goal. Without customers, we have no business. And so the warranty is important. What you do when there's an issue and try to resolve that as quick as possible and take care of it is how we've maintained our business through even these tough economic times.
And I imagine that's easier to do when you got a product that's not going to fail on you.
That helps a lot. It sure does.
Isn't that pretty much the way that works?
Yes. If the product is good, it sure makes us look good, and the product is very good.
Yeah. Well, your company has a great reputation, and we're excited that you guys are a part of what we're doing here with this high performance home. One of the things that is very, very important to us is that at each step of the building process, we're doing the right things, and that they all contribute to the whole process of making a house perform properly. If you leave out one area, you got a chink in the armor, and something's going to come through and deteriorate the rest of the program. We're all about sustainability. So what we build, we want it to be here for a long, long time. And we've talked in some of our other videos about, the fact that dampness can create mold, it can create rot, it can create a lot of other problems. So it starts with a problem there, but it goes on as the effects of it, go on.
No question.
And you can't build something high performance if you don't take care of that.
Right.
And if you have a lower level that's being developed, with living space, you're putting drywall down there. You don't want mold, you don't want dampness, you don't want any of those things. And you're kind of coming in on the outside as a first line of protection on the building space. Is that
sure?
Pretty much.
And the number one homeowner complaint in North America is a leaky basement. So by virtue of addressing that with a warranty that is transferable, it's non-prorated, and backed by Tremco Barrier Solutions, the manufacturer, it provides protection. And it's kind of a tough sell because no one drives by a house and says, wow, I bet you that basement's got a 10-year guarantee against leaking. So there's no curb appeal, and a lot of times realtors will invite builders not to spend money on something that doesn't have curb appeal or cosmetic value, where that same realtor, when you're going through that house, if the basement's leaking, is asking, why would you not protect this basement? So there's a fine line of where to spend money from a budgetary standpoint, and Nathan and Oasis has definitely done that with making sure that the basements will not leak with the warranty.
Well, we're excited that you're a part of the project. We're excited that Champion Waterproofing is right there, like I said, at the front of the project doing its thing to help. And we know that our viewers are going to enjoy watching this and learning more about you and your company. And we'll put your company name in the video, I'm sure, and the contact information so they can get a hold of you. And thanks again for coming in.
Really
Kerry.
appreciate this
Yeah.
opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.